Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Rakuten booth here at MWC Barcelona 2026. Thank you very much for joining us. To get this morning's session started, we're going to be discussing one of the most important aspects of the mobile network of today, the customer experience, the ways we measure the customer experience, the ways this experience alters across markets, and how we can work together with industry analysis to deliver the best possible customer experience. Firstly, welcome Sylvia Kashish, Vice President of Industry Analysis at OpenSignal, and Mahmoud El Sakawi, the Vice Director of the Mobile Network Supervisory Department at Rakuten Mobile. Thank you both very much for joining me today. Mahmoud, just to get us started, can you talk us through some of the ways that Rakuten Mobile is working to deliver the best possible customer experience? What role are evolving and new mobile network architectures playing in that journey?
Thanks, James, and thanks for audience. So in Rakuten Mobile, we are having a very clear objective, which is providing the best customer experience and being #1 mobile carrier in Japan. So in order to achieve this, we build our customer experience and performance assurance strategy on a set of factors. We are starting from the visibility, that really reflecting the customer experience. And this is happening through a different and wide set of data coming from different sources, like statistics, crowdsourced data, which are getting from OpenSignal, and benchmarking, field testing, customer sentiment, and tracking the tweets. So this is a wide and different set of sources, but we put all of them on the same data lake. Okay? And then we build our analysis to be in a proactive way to define exactly the needed actions to ensure the leadership and the customer experience. And everything is done in benchmarking way versus the competitors, even going to the very high resolution of a city or zip code or something like that. And all of this analysis must be correlated ones. Okay. So this process is time consuming and requires a huge efforts to correlate all of this analysis together and drive actions. It's really time consuming. Here comes the importance of having AI. So we believe that AI is the only correct way to perform this analysis in an accurate way and drive and take the action in a very short time. Now, we have our architecture from day one as cloud native and open RAN. This is giving us the needed flexibility to do the needed actions like scalability or developing new features or doing the upgrades. So putting the AI on top of this flexible architecture allowed us to perform all of this needed analysis along with the actions in a very short time compared to the legacy architecture. And all of this is helping us to go in the direction of achieving the best customer experience targets.
Absolutely. So a wide variety of data sources being pulled together via new architectures to deliver new levels of insight. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So definitely. So if you are having a lot of data sources and they are scattered, then your mission will be difficult. So putting them on the same data lake, this helps to do the convergence of data analysis and perform the correlative analysis in a way, drive an action, and then use the AI to take the action. Yeah.
Thanks very much for getting us kicked off, Mahmoud. Sylvia, thank you again for joining us here today at the Rakuten booth. In your view and experience, what are the main areas of opportunity that OpenSignal sees in the market to improve the customer experience, and where should they be focusing at this point in time? And how do you view Rakuten Mobile's journey over the last few years in improving the customer experience?
Thank you, James, for the question. I think we've been working with Rakuten for a number of years. Not me personally, but we've been working. And I think when we look at the journey, moving from MVNO to an operator, it's been quite a long journey. Well, you recently achieved 10 million subscribers, which in such a competitive market such as Japan is not an easy feast. And what we see, and what's very important, we see a shift in the industry to moving beyond just focusing on speeds to being a consistent and reliable operator. And I think that's what you very much focused on. So using our consistent quality metric to ensure that the customers are getting good enough experience. So consistent quality combines 6 KPIs. So download throughput, upload throughput, so it's 5 megabits per second download throughput, jitter, latency, time to first byte. And the way we design it is to make sure where users are actually watching Netflix or trying to do a video call, they have a good enough experience. So they don't experience these lags and they don't experience bad experience, because at the end of the day, what we feel is that what matters to them. So what matters to you and I is when we're trying to make a phone call, that we can do it. When we're trying to commute to the office, we're actually able to stream videos. So that what matters. When you have a peak speed at any given time, that's great, but it doesn't really translate into measurable gain. So that's what's important. I think the focus on constant quality and ensuring that users have a good enough experience paid off massively for you, for Rakuten. And in terms of, I think the part of your question was, what do we see happening in the industry? So definitely consistency over peak speeds. That's very, very important. If you look over just our booth is on the other side, our theme this year is getting local. So understanding the subscriber, understanding the experience, where they are, that's very, very key. And that's, we've been working with Rakuten also on that, just to making sure that consumers understand that they're getting good enough experience whenever they are, that it is the best provider in there. And I think important part of it is, as Mahmoud mentioned, having AI interpreting all this data means that you can take action faster, right? So whenever there's network outage, you know faster because you can see it and you can actually take action. So that's very, very key. So architecture is important. And not only are you leading in Japan, also our latest global mobile awards said you have the best time on 4G and 5G across large landmass areas. And this is so important because right now, as I said about consistency, consumer experience is whenever you cannot connect, that point of time you're going to remember.
Yeah.
So that's super important. I think expanding coverage, again, being the fourth operator, the challenger, it takes time and effort. And another thing that you've done is trying to expanding further using direct-to-device satellite. So these are the things that we think are important. So consistency, ensuring that you react fast when something isn't working by having a very flexible, adaptable infrastructure. Coverage being very important. And I think integrating this into your infrastructure is key. So customer experience we actually see being a really important driver for consumers and keeping customers.
Just to ask a slight follow-up question there, you talk about the ability to react fast and I suppose make agile changes as needed. Is that something you've seen in the way Rakuten Mobile operates its network? Has it been able to make quick changes as needed to improve performance and respond to user needs?
I think that's a question to Mahmoud.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, James. This is what we are practicing now in Rakuten Mobile. So yesterday, Hassan also speaking about some of the use cases we already having now live in Rakuten Mobile. And one clear example of that where we are getting the benefits of Open RAN, which is the auto healing we are doing. If there is one site is become down or there is an outage take place, then immediately the other sites surrounding are doing the needed auto healing to ensure the connectivity is still continuing this direction. Similarly, looking to the cloud native environment we are having, we are building on top of it many applications. And since it is cloud native environment, we have the flexibility to do the needed scalability whenever it is needed. So imagine if you are having a specific event and it is expected that we will have huge attempts will come place. So many events like this happen everywhere. And you will need for this specific period of time to expand your resources and then automatically and seamlessly to reduce these resources without any impact on the customer and minimizing the downtime. So this is what we are able now to achieve in Rakuten Mobile as a real use cases through AI to maintain, end of the day, the customer experience.
Thank you very much. And Sylvia, back to you. So something you touched upon slightly before is the changing ways in which we measure that customer experience. So moving from beyond basic KPIs to CQIs and SQIs. Can you talk us through why that's so important and why that change in measurement is so key in 2026?
Yeah, and we have recently updated our global network excellence index. So the way we will measure customer experience is trying to understand across a few key pillars. And pillar number one is how much time you spend on 4G and 5G, because again, that's important, having access to modern infrastructure. Our days, everything that we do is on mobile. So when you don't have connectivity, you're outside of being able to perform your tasks, being able to connect. So we look at time on 4G and 5G as an important first pillar, so being able to connect and access modern infrastructure. Pillar number two is something that we already discussed and mentioned, is consistent quality. So whether or not you have a good enough performance to be able to do those tasks, those activities, participate in digital economy and society. And pillar number three is download speed.
Yeah.
And the reason why we have download speed is because it is important to understand whether the investments that you're making into the infrastructure, the huge capex spend, is actually being reflected in performance, right? So we use download speed as a measure of network capacity and being able to support the future demands. And we launched the index last year in February. And over the past year, we listened to the industry, we listened to regulators, operators, and we had previously time on 4G and 5G to try to assess two networks separately. But then we decided that that's not really the right way to measure, because we have 5G in most countries now, no, quite a few countries. So it's not fair to distinguish between 4G and 5G. It is more important to assess the holistic experience. Another thing that we have done as well, and this goes back to measuring, importance of measuring likes for likes, we have added two filters. So you can view the word across all devices, and then you can apply a high and premium devices filter. And the reason why we did that is because quite often we forget that devices that we have actually affect our experience. And we found some really interesting examples in countries when they will have a really high speeds using the high-end devices, but the overall performance at the country level is subpar. And that actually shows you that right now we have a bit of a gap. And that's a kind of like third-tier digital divide. So if you don't have access to good enough devices, you cannot actually fully take advantage of the network capacity. And for operators, that's important to see, because again, the investment that they're making is not being reflected in the way the users are experiencing the networks.
So they certainly, operators in specific markets certainly have to tailor whatever they're delivering based on what their customers can realistically expect. And
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And quite often it's not the fault, so to speak, of operators. It is because the devices might be not optimized enough and not using a good enough capacity. And I think important point as well is, as we're moving towards 5G advanced, 6G, with AI being native and being to networks, the AI is also moving onto devices. So I think we're going to see very different use cases and experiences very, very soon.
Thank you very much. We can't have this conversation without talking about the effects of AI, of course. Mahmoud, as we all know, Rakuten Mobile has made significant progress, I think we can say, in using AI to improve its network operations. Let's talk about the importance of AI in that, improving the customer experience and in end-to-end capacity management, etc. Can you talk us through some of the ways that it's helping to improve that quality that we deliver to customers?
Yes, but before that, let me comment to the previous question as well. Okay, so I talked about this with Syria before, that some phenomena is interesting to keep looking to it, which is how the customer experience is evolving. Okay, if we look to 10 years back or 15 years back, customer expectation was very less. Just make a phone call without being dropped, right? And simple internet browsing, something like that. Relative to this, at that time, the measurements of the customer experience were very simple, and the most of it were related to the control plane, right? But now we are looking for something different. Now, customer expectation is to do trading and to do gaming as well, and live video streaming. This is adding more demands on the network and adding another responsibility for the people who are leading the performance and customer experience. to continuously keep developing the needed visibility and the needed KPIs to be able to ensure the customer experience. So now, as mentioned by Sylvia, latency is very important thing, jitter and packet loss. But we are also in an era of convergence where it's not only mobile network, but you as a user, you as a customer, you are using the connectivity to converge with a fintech, okay, to do some trading process or banking or something related to travel, something like that, okay. So this convergence as well is requesting to have many KPIs to be monitored, and doing it in a segregated mode, in a separate mode, is very difficult and time-consuming one. Here, there is an important to develop a unified score or a unified KQI or a global KPI, so that you will be able to measure and assess the overall journey of the customer and be able to drill down exactly where the problem is. Okay. But again, how this can be done accurately, very fast, and giving you the root cause analysis immediately to know where is exactly the problem that is affecting the customer experience. Here, answers come from AI. Okay.
Yep.
And so, AI and automation, many talks about it, but in reality, AI is the only efficient way to be able to run with the speed, ensures proactively the customer experience. Now, let me give you one use case we built in Rakuten Mobile, and it is live and working right now. So very small activity, which is small one, but very important one, all mobile operators are doing, which is the field testing and doing benchmarking versus competitors. So this activity is very important because it requires someone to go to the field, do a simulation for the real user experience, and then collect the logs from the field and do deep dive analysis that requires deep expert person to do this analysis, and then clean the data and prepare a report and define the actions to work on it. This process usually takes around 1 week to 2 weeks, something like that. Now, when we build our AI solution, we were able to do all of this process instead of 2 weeks into less than 50 minutes. And this is not only the added value you are able to gain from using the AI here. As I mentioned, the previous process required very deep expert persons. Now this become part exactly of the AI. So we are able to use and utilize the expert people in more advanced tasks and let the AI do this process, which is continuously running.
And we've also developed models for capacity analysis, if capacity can be an issue anywhere throughout the network in any cluster. So would you mind giving us a bit more sort of background
Definitely.
on that?
So same model now we are using in overall performance and capacity management along with customer experience.
Yep.
Usually the part that is taking much time is reaching the root cause and what is the needed action to do. Okay. And the problem is when you try to reach for a root cause, this means there is an impact on the customer. So the long time is consumed, the long negative impact. So this is the correct place where we put the AI to speed up whatever root cause analysis is needed and drives the action automatically as well.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud. We're coming towards the end of our time slot here, but Sylvia, just to sort of get towards the end, can you tell us about some of the ways that OpenSignal is directly supporting mobile network operators to improve their customer experience? And again, something we've already mentioned, how does the nature of each specific market affect the way, or the needs of each specific market affect the way that you help those MNOs?
Thanks, James. And I think I'm just going to piggyback on something that Mahmoud said. Being able to provide independent visibility, so having visibility into how your network is performing, and being able to understand if there's an issue, is an issue with the network, or is an issue with the CDN, right? Because quite often it's not necessarily the network that's down. There's some other issue that you can see it, you can understand what's going on, and you can understand in which neighborhood, in which location. So that helps for sure. And I think what's very, very important is important to be able to prioritize investments. And in Japan, that's highly competitive, highly mature market. There's going to be different needs in other developing markets. And what we have found out actually, there is a correlation between network performance and subscriber movements. So for instance, in certain countries, when people have no signal, they are more likely to churn than when they have a worse download speed.
Yeah.
And consistently what we have seen that consistent quality. So good enough experience is very, very important for them. So again, being able to do whatever they need to do is key. So giving that visibility to our partners allows them to prioritize and ensure that they care about the right things and improving the right experience. So for instance, for Rakuten, you've been doing very well on the upload speed, which is very important in the AI era, right? Because we're going to rely more on upload. So there are certain things that you can do to optimize the networks to provide good enough and best experience, and being able to have that competitive context to see, when you're falling behind, where you're doing better than your competitors, and then be able to win in the places that you're doing very, very well. So I think that that's very important. And I think for us was also key is to help to shape the narrative that the fastest is not always the best. It is the consistent and reliable and being always on, as in being always on
Totally agree.
network is key, because that's what the consumers care about. Like you and I, we care about when we can make a call, not whether or not we have the fastest speed.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think we've pretty much come to time. Any final closing thoughts or closing remarks? Anything you'd like to round off the discussion with?
No, thanks, James. And I think we nailed everything from the top to the bottom. Yeah. However, I'm emphasizing again about two things. I believe there is a great opportunity for improving the customer experience and ensuring the best customer experience through AI, especially if you are having an architecture flexible, like cloud native environment and open RAN. And the second thing, now we are in an era of convergence. So whoever is designing the performance and capacity and customer experience strategy need to think from convergent point of view. The correlation between churn and KPIs and retaining customers and gaining new customers, now it become all in the same criteria. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mohammed.
I'm just going to add that AI and Open RAN goes hand in hand, right? So having this flexible infrastructure definitely helps, and you're going to gain in the future because you can, again, come up with the use cases very, very fast and solve problems even faster. I think that's the sign we should end.
Is that your final thoughts, Sylvia? Is that we leave it? Okay. Ladies and gents, round of applause, please, for our panelists, Mahmoud El Sakawi and Sylvia Kashish from Rakuten Mobile and OpenSignal. Thank you both very much. Thank you.